Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to dive into something that's very dear to me, and that's health, fitness, or overall wellness. How do we stay healthy? One thing about this platform, not only do we teach you how to keep that beast mindset, but we also like to bring informative education to the viewers. And this is one of those episodes that we're going to dive deep into that. Those that know me as an athlete, professional bodybuilder, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, but one of the top trainers that there is, especially when it comes to nutrition. When it comes to nutrition, even as a trainer, your first mainstay should always be nutrition. What is nutrition? How is nutrition applied to you and what you're trying to do, whether it be weight loss, whether it be human performance, whether it's just about sustaining a healthy lifestyle. But I'm not the only one that specializes in this. Today on the show, we have a young lady that has done her research, has went to school, and more importantly, this is how I say a lot of things happen in life. It happens in the home front. And today on the show, this wealth of knowledge took place in the home front. And with that, she was able to dive deep into a subject that's really dear to me, and that's understanding the importance of total health care, but more importantly, the pancreas and what the pancreas actually does and how vital it is to the overall functionality of our body. I'd like to welcome to the show the one, the only, the nutritionist herself. Yeah, I call her the nutritionist, Candice Rosen, to the show. How you doing, baby girl?
I'm good. Thank you, Andre. I'm honored to be on your show. Thank you very much. And I love talking about nutrition, and I love talking about the pancreas. And that's where my research, it really is focused on. So I'm a registered nurse. I'm a social worker. I am a nutritionist, a researcher, and an author.
Mm-hmm.
And my last book, Forget Dieting, came out a couple of years ago, and that was based on my two programs that I created in 2008, the Pancreatic Nutritional Program and Data-Driven Fueling. And you're right about the home front. So in your introduction, so true. All of this came about because of my second oldest daughter, who had health issues. And I'm a proud mother of 4 children, and I have 1 granddaughter. But yeah, it started with my daughter, my second oldest.
Let's go back a little bit. Let's take the people down the journey. You're from the Midwest girl, right up the street, Chicago. Yeah. The roots started in Chicago. What was it like for you as a little girl growing up in the Windy City?
Well, I actually grew up in Northwest Indiana. So I was born in East Chicago, Indiana, but the harbor, Indiana Harbor. So grew up in the region, and then graduated from high school, and then went to nursing school at South Chicago Community Hospital School of Nursing. Mm-hmm. And then from there went on to get more degrees and whatever, and stayed in Chicago up until 10 years ago, moved to the LA area. Mm-hmm. But now I'm in Florida.
Okay. You wind up getting married and having children. When did things start to turn for you? Because we said that it starts in the house a lot of times. What was going on in your house that you noticed with your daughter that started you on this quest?
Well, actually, to back up a little bit, I will say that I grew up in a household where my maternal grandmother, lived with us after my grandfather died. So
Hmm.
my grandfather died when I was 16 months old, and my grandmother moved in with us. And then she became a diabetic, type 2. And my mother then got diabetes. And I always thought, because, I was schooled in the medical model, that that would be my baggage.
Hereditary.
Okay.
Hereditary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, of course, through research and that, you find out that what I inherited was probably insulin resistance.
Hmm.
And then if you're eating the wrong foods and you're not exercising, moving, whatever, that you flip the switch and then you can get type 2 diabetes. But my second oldest daughter was a junior in college, and she was a theater major. And, in a short period of time, she gained a lot of weight and got cystic acne and was having irregular periods. And I diagnosed her as having polycystic ovarian syndrome. I took her to gynecologists, dermatologists, endocrinologists. They all told me the same thing. Oh, she gained the freshman 15. And I was like, what? She gained more than 15 pounds, and she's not a freshman, and she's a theater major, and she's living with other girls that are wannabe actresses and whatever. But anyway, they treated me like I had Munchausen's, like I got off on taking my kid to the doctor. But anyway, so Jennifer, didn't feel good about herself, body image and all that. She didn't try out for things. And then when she graduated from college, she volunteered with a humanitarian organization and was placed in Europe, working and living in an orphanage. And when she was there, I came 4 weeks after she arrived, just to make sure that she was safe and all that. And I saw how she was lifting these kids and all the work involved, and saw what she was eating. And by all standards, from what you're told, and we've talked, Andre, before about the food pyramid and all that,
Right.
that she would be eating correctly. Well, anyway, she came home for the summer. She was home for 6 weeks, and there was a new head of endocrinology at Northwestern in Chicago. And she got home on Saturday. Monday, I had her at that doctor for an appointment. Gave the history, then I stepped out and was in the waiting room, and the doctor examined her. The doctor came out into the waiting room to get me, and she said, "You're absolutely right. She has PCOS." And I was like, "What? Oh my God. Did you do an ultrasound of her
What
ovaries?
is
How did
that
you
for
make
the
the
what is that for the viewers so they know exactly what she has?
Okay. Polycystic ovarian syndrome is where you get like cysts on your ovaries, but not necessarily. And females will get like irregular periods, they'll get weight gain, they might get some peach fuzz on their face, some excess hair on their arms. Jennifer didn't have that. She had the acne and the irregular periods.
Mhm.
And so I said to the doctor, "Oh my gosh, did you take an ultrasound of her ovaries?" I didn't have to. Her symptoms were classic. And I was like, "Oh my God." I said, "What's the plan?" And she said, "Come into the office. Jennifer has the plan." So I came in, and my daughter was holding 4 prescriptions.
Wow.
So for medication that would mask the symptoms and not address the root cause. So
Right.
I said to the doctor, "What?" And she said, "Well, I'm giving her Accutane for the cystic acne, putting her on birth control pills," which I don't believe in, because I believe that birth control pills and hormone replacement therapy cause breast cancer. And then putting her on an appetite suppressant and metformin, a drug for diabetics. And I was like, "No." So I took the prescriptions and I put it on her desk, and I said, "Thank you, but I want to address the root cause." And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "I want you to do a fasting blood glucose on her. Is she diabetic or pre-diabetic? What are her glucose levels?" Because with polycystic ovarian syndrome and even low testosterone in men, what happens is when you eat the wrong foods, the wrong combination of foods, the wrong amount of foods, you raise your blood glucose, then your pancreas is called into action, pumps out a ton of insulin. And so you have excess insulin circulating through your bloodstream, which is called hyperinsulinemia.
Mhm.
Never meets up perfectly. So that excess insulin, what happens is in girls, women, will suppress the production of estrogen by the ovaries, and they'll have a rise in androgens, testosterone. And so then you'll see guys, a lot of young men you'll see that'll be overweight. They might have man boobs. They don't have as much facial hair, whatever, not a lot of hair on their legs. What happens to them is excess insulin suppresses the production of testosterone, and they get a rise in estrogen.
Which causes gynecomastia.
Exactly.
Mm.
So I think I told you before is that, we got into the garage there at the medical center,
Mm.
and my daughter was screaming at me like, "Oh, you humiliated yourself. You embarrassed me. You're not a doctor, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Fine, we'll go back and I'll get the prescriptions, and you're going to be worse than you are right now. You can go back to Europe, whatever, on the medication."
Right.
And then she said, "Well, what are you proposing?" And I said, "I'm going to go to a pharmacy and I'm going to get a glucometer to use like diabetics do. You're testing your blood."
Right.
Went and got that, had her fast from 9 o'clock until the next morning, and tested her blood sugar, and it was 146. The norm is between 70 and 100.
Wow.
So then it was like I went on this whole quest to figure out an eating plan and was testing her blood sugar.
Was her
She lost,
pancreas, I didn't mean to cut you off, Candice, but was her pancreas, evidently her pancreas was functioning correctly, but I guess because of maybe her eating habits was causing a fluctuation in insulin levels, which at the same time increased her triglycerides, aka her fat level stored levels in her body as well.
could be, but you're the one that's the metabolic physiologist. I'm not, but you are. And but the thing is, I would say that for her, she had what I said or spoke about earlier about inheriting insulin resistance. So what happens is insulin, okay, if you eat the wrong foods, the wrong combination of foods, the wrong amount of foods, and your pancreas pumps out a ton of insulin. Insulin acts as a key that unlocks the cell to allow that food that you ate, which is converted into glucose, which is the fuel that our bodies run on,
Right.
to enter that cell, to fuel it, to heal it, create new cells, whatever. When you are eating, like I said, the wrong amount, the wrong foods, the wrong combination of foods, your cell gets full, and that insulin that's circulating can no longer open the cell. And the cell is like, "I'm full."
Right.
And so that excess sugar, glucose, then is stored in the fat cells. And that excess insulin, like I said, affects your hormones. So this is what was happening with Jennifer. So what I did was create this program. And then from there, she's healed. She's not on any diet. You don't have to diet. In the world right now, I was told that there's 17,000 diets out there.
Yeah, it's probably more than
People
that.
do all sorts.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
I've had
And
clients that I didn't mean to cut you off. I had clients.
no.
The craziest diet I had a client come to me with. She did cabbage diet, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why don't you just understand which carbohydrates can stabilize your blood sugar levels?
There you go. And remember when Oprah did the liquid protein?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these diets. And what they say is on any given day, 1 in 3 women are dieting, 1 in 4 men are dieting, and that's because diets don't work. You have to embark on a lifestyle of correct fueling. And so fast forward, so I'm working with Jennifer's healed, whatever, and then these word spreads, and I start getting these young women with the same symptoms, okay, of polycystic ovarian syndrome. So I'm taking care of them. 2 years after Jennifer was healed, I had a cancer scare. So they thought I had ovarian cancer. I had surgery, and by the grace of God, it was benign and it wasn't ovarian cancer, but I had a hysterectomy, which left me, I felt like I had no energy. I couldn't even walk a block. So 4 months after the surgery, the doctors all have a powwow and they say, and by the way, I was 36 pounds heavier. I've been on all sorts of different diets, for special occasions, a wedding or whatever. And I'd work out like a fiend, starve myself, lose 20 pounds only to gain it back and then some. So anyway, the doctors had a powwow and they decided that I needed to be placed on 5 medications: Boniva for bone density, hormone replacement therapy, a statin drug because I didn't have the protective effects of my ovaries. And so therefore I would probably have heart issues via high cholesterol, whatever. Fourth drug, I don't remember, but the fifth drug was Effexor, which is an antidepressant. And I said to the doctor, I said, I'm not depressed. I thought I was going to be, after the surgery, going through chemo and radiation. So I'm not just walking on the sunny side of the street, I'm dancing on the sunny side of the street. And I said, with all due respect, I would like to, let's table that. I would like to go and utilize the program that I created for women with PCOS and try it on myself. Mm-hmm. And I did. And I was testing my blood sugar 90 minutes after I ate a meal or a snack, following the program that I created. And I lost the weight. I've never put any of it on again. I know exactly what fuel works for my organic machine. Mm-hmm. But the hilarious thing is that when I would go back to see the doctor when I was in Chicago, mm-hmm. she would always put her arm around me when I would be leaving the office. And she would say to me, I really worry about you. And I was like, what do you mean? I really worry about you because you're making it so difficult. And I said, how am I making it difficult? She said, you're trying to prove a point, and it doesn't have to be that hard. You can enjoy things, and if you just took the medication.
That's what I was going to say. They want you to take the medication, but you've already proven that it works. I mean, it's common. People who don't understand the metabolic process and hormone related issues and what causes it. You're 100% right. I've been preaching this since 1990. The underlying root is pretty simple. The medical field wants you sick because if you do the math, it's not hard. Your pancreas is a major device that's going to determine whether or not you're going to be insulin resistant, you're going to have health issues, or you're not. And if you don't take care of it, this is the end results. Overweight, type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, health issues, and it all stems from what you put in your body. And it's always a combination of the carbohydrates, sugars that go into the body instead of understanding the concepts of a protein-enriched diet along with low glycemic carbohydrates. But what I'm getting ready to say with that issue is I'm glad that you decided to stick with your guns. But you mentioned something that was pretty interesting. You picked up weight, but you created this plan and going up and down with your weight. Did you not implement your program into your own regimen prior to what made you decide to put your own? Because you evidently
no,
you
it's a good
wasn't doing it.
question.
Yeah, you wasn't doing it at first.
You know why? Because I still was stuck in that medical model, that thinking of the food pyramid, dividing your plate into thirds, and thinking that what I created was just for PCOS. And then it was like when that happened to me, I was like, you know what? Maybe that program I created isn't just for women with polycystic ovarian syndrome. Maybe that could be applied to me as far as cholesterol, all that sort of stuff. And then that's how that all imploded. And then the other thing is, it's a lifestyle that anybody that has cancer should be monitoring their blood glucose. They should be making sure that their blood glucose doesn't go over 190 minutes after they eat a meal or a snack. Why? Because the research was done in 1931, and every cancer doctor, every oncologist knows this, that the research was done by Dr. Otto Warburg. Cancer cells love glucose. And so anybody that's ever heard of a PET scan, okay,
Candace, I think you better tell them what glucose is. It's actually sugar.
yes, right,
Okay.
sugar,
Go
you're
ahead.
right.
No. Okay.
So so like a PET scan. So PET scans will diagnose a cancer. It'll also diagnose metastatic disease. So what do? They inject you with radioactive sugar, glucose, and then do the scan, and the tumor or metastatic disease will light up because the cancer cells suck it up, unlike the normal cells. And every comprehensive cancer center knows that, and every oncologist knows that, but they don't share that with their patients. So I'm not saying that you should not do traditional treatment. I'm just saying you need to do your part. As you know, your doctor is not going to care about you as much as you should care about yourself. And you have a part to play in your health. And you have a responsibility to take care of this organic machine.
Me and
So,
you talked off camera pretty in depth because we share the same vision here when it comes to your health and especially nutrition. Uh, It's
and
amazing.
I learned, and just so I can say this to the audience, when we had that conversation, I told you I learned so much from you.
Well, thank
Was
you.
taking notes. Yeah. So anyway,
Well, it's just really funny that you said that. And out of my many years as a trainer, I highly emphasize the importance of nutrition. Even when I speak on nutrition, I say a lot of your diseases start from a carbohydrate fluctuation. And it's funny because I would hear women, I'd share this with you. I would ask the audience, how many people in the audience know of somebody that had ovarian cancer, breast cancer, male erectile dysfunction, gynecomastia. And the next question I follow that up with is, what are some of the things they've eaten? And I said, let me give you an example. And it's like, well, we eat wheat bread, we eat this. And I said, well, do you know that those things also elevate your estrogen levels? Do you also know when you elevate your estrogen levels and they're also elevating your pancreas, that you're also messing with your hormones and you're
yeah.
also storing additional body fat? And the question I'm gonna ask you, because you're in the medical field, people say, well, why do they put this out on television and tell us to eat it? Why do we take low fat salad dressing? I said, well, you take away the fat and you put the sugar in there, do the math, but you're in the medical field. You're in the medical field. Why do you think this is so prevalent in your eyesight?
um, you know, Working in a medical center and all, and seeing the students, and we used to have medical students over for dinner, residents and fellows monthly, whatever. And I would say in the last 25 years, maybe even more, um, medical education has changed so much that it really is, they're not graduating healers, they're graduating pharmaceutical bartenders. And in this country, it's time for last call. enough.
Mm.
And so because it's all about this, okay, and you know as well, you have scientists working on trying to create different drugs at medical centers because the medical center will benefit. So a pharmaceutical company will buy the rights to whatever. They're making money. They're giving royalties to the medical center and to the scientists that created whatever. Um, it's all about money and greed and not about healing. And that makes me very sad.
What are some of the what is your client list like? And what I mean by that is it more females than it is male? Is in Where is the explosion in age categories?
It's interesting. I have more females than males. Um, and actually, when you say that, and and what would I say about age group? It used to be people middle age, but now it's getting younger because you see all these young people that are, overweight. And I just did a lecture a couple of weeks ago called the lecture was called The Spare Tire. And it was interesting. There were over 50 people there, and it was the majority of them were women, but there were men, and men tend to have more of what they call the beer belly, and there were everyone that was there. After I finished my talk, I asked them, please raise your hand if your physician has told you what I just told you. And nobody
Everybody,
raised their hand.
really?
And yeah, so I talk about subcutaneous fat and
Right.
visceral fat. So if you have metabolic syndrome, where you've got the spare tire around your middle
Hmm.
and you don't have a definition, so you don't have a waist, okay, and men in particular, okay, you're carrying that around. It increases your chances of having a heart attack and all. Why? The most dangerous part of that spare tire is the visceral fat, not the subcutaneous. So, subcutaneous fat is what you can pinch. The visceral fat is yellow gunk that surrounds all the organs in your body, your heart, your lungs, your liver, and it's in between all your intestines. Not one person there at that lecture said their doctors ever told them or described that.
Mm.
They didn't know what was going on internally. And I showed pictures, I had slides,
Right.
and it grossed everybody out. So, you know, I think once people are educated and understand how their organic machine works
Hmm.
and what they're doing to harm it, it's not about, we have this movement going on in this country about body positivity. You know what? No, it's not body positivity. It's never about the weight. It's about what the weight represents, which is either present or future for health. So what needs to be discussed is bodily abuse. And I want to say just one last thing is that we're seeing children that are overweight. And a lot of that has to do that kids don't have recess 5 days a week. They're not having gym 4 days, 5 days a week, whatever. And so you have these children, 8, 9, and 10-year-olds that are overweight that are being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes was always called adult onset diabetes because it happened in middle age. You
Right.
be 45, you 50, you're diagnosed with adult onset. And then you had a 2 to a 12, 15-year window before you developed all the offshoot diseases. Heart disease, vascular issues, meaning your circulation in your legs would get bad, and some people get their toes amputated, a leg amputated. They get renal failure. Okay, so children that are 8, 9, and 10 years old being diagnosed with type 2, but remember, it really is adult onset diabetes. What does their 2 to 12-year window look like?
Not good.
Are they going to be 25 and on a wait list for a kidney transplant? So what needs to be told to people is the truth. Weight represents either present or future poor health, and obesity has replaced tobacco use as the source, number one source now of cancers.
And it's so funny because I've met, I was a trainer during the explosion of gastro and bariatric surgery. And
Oh,
it was so funny. I remember a guy came to me from Chicago. You couldn't tell that he had surgery. I mean, he looked good in his shirt. And he was crying. A grown man cried in my office. He said, I look like shit. And
really?
And I was like, yeah, because what happens is, during that explosion period, nobody really focused on what me and you are talking about. The nutrition aspect, the magnification of what the pancreas can do to you, and they didn't understand the importance of the amino acid pool. What amino acids do? What are their functions? And like you talked about, more importantly, how do I take this fat and get rid of it naturally, because the body is designed to get rid of the fat naturally. But going back to the story of the bariatric and gastric bypass explosion, I would ask them, well, what alternatives did the doctors give you? Well, they told us to lose weight and exercise. Okay, well, clearly you can't do that with people that don't understand there's a formula to exercise, there's a formula to the nutrition, like you said. And what happens is they wind up losing the weight, and they wind up in a condition called catabolic syndrome, which is even
Yes.
more detrimental to the body, because if your body is catabolic, you have to remember the heart is also a muscle. And if the heart is weakened, then everything is weakened. The immune system is weakened, everything is weakened. And with with without the improper balance of proper nutrition, carbohydrates, fat, and proteins together, your body begins to eat on itself. And if it eats on itself, it's doing what? It's eating on the heart, which is weakening the heart muscle. That's why their skin is loose to it. They used to take the skin off and make them look
Uh-huh.
a bit, but they had no muscle definition. But then they stopped doing that because people failed to realize during this transformation, the skin, and there was diseases within the skin. So they stopped doing that.
No,
What's
you
your
know
take
what? You're
on that?
absolutely
What's your
and
take on that?
well, I just want to say what you just said
Hmm.
is so true. And, you know, as an example, people that go through that surgery are never educated by someone like you about nutrition. I can't tell you the number of individuals who have had the surgery and gained back the weight,
Yeah.
because even though they've had part of their stomach removed or the sleeve or whatever, they've never been taught about the nutrition and eating correctly, that they, after X number of years, they're gaining weight.
Hmm.
And you're absolutely right.
And their body's never the same. I mean, I've heard of
Right.
people that they have digestive problems, they have flatulent problems, they have renal problems, they defecate themselves during intimacy. I mean, their body is never the same. But I asked them, I said, if you had to do it all over again, a lot of them say they would rather stay overweight.
I think you're absolutely right. And then now, and we touched on that briefly when we talked before about drugs like Ozempic.
Yeah,
People
making a
don't
killing.
understand how dangerous those drugs are and that you have to be on it for the rest of your life
Yeah.
unless you change and work with someone like you where you can explain to them about how they have to change their eating.
I think a lot of people, and you can validate that, a lot of people want overnight sensation. We live in America. Everybody wants instant gratification, but to change the genetic blueprint of your body, it takes time. And a lot of people, I think this is what I realized over my years as a trainer and dealing with people. They rather wait until the bad happens and the bad news happen and they go, oh, why me?
Yes. Yeah, you're
Even
right.
when you get, even when you give them
Sadly,
information.
you're right.
Because let's get real. During the pandemic, you would think that everybody would have understood the importance of having health, a healthy mind, a healthy body. People
Yeah,
were still eating recklessly, less taking care of themselves, and
true.
really could care less. What's your take on that?
No, you're absolutely right. They wanted what you said, the quick fix, you take the shot, whatever, and they don't understand that you have to have a healthy organic machine in order to be able to fight whatever virus is thrown out there. And taking these vaccines is not the answer. And you've seen that where the majority of people that took it still they keep getting sick. And now what's so hilarious, do you ever hear about anybody being diagnosed with the cold or the flu? People that I know get sick, they always say to me, "Oh, I'm dealing with COVID." No, you have a cold.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Now everybody says, yeah, you're right. It's kind of like now they got rid of saying I got a cold and say I got COVID.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So
Let me go back to a question
anyway,
that I asked. I don't
sure.
think I remember the question, but when did the lights change for you? Because you clearly said that you was having problems with your own weight, but you had the remedy right there in front of you. So when did you decide it? What was that spark that made you decide to implement your own program into your own life?
Well, it was actually with them wanting to put me on those 5 medications. I
Okay.
was like, no. And I just I like I said, I wanted to see if I could use myself as a guinea pig and see if that program would apply to me, not just a woman with polycystic ovarian syndrome. And so anyway, you know, uh, it worked. And like I said, I know exactly what food fuel works for my organic machine. So with my clients, they only test themselves for 2 to 3 months, whether they're sticking their fingers like, with the glucometer, or they use that Dexcom or Libre Pro that they put on their upper arm and it lasts 2 weeks. They're
Mhm.
just testing for 2 to 3 months and they're following my program, the pancreatic nutritional program, data driven fueling program, which is outlined, in the books that I've written, whatever. And they
Did you
they
admit
never diet again.
did you admit certain foods from your program? Because I know with my program that I designed, I I based the material based on what I did as a professional athlete. And then I
Uh-huh.
realized that I couldn't do that. I had to go back and strategize and not admit food, but to
Uh-huh.
actually go back and put food in this correct category. Uh,
Hmm.
is that somewhat similar to how do you do that with your program?
Well, number one of the things that I limit for my clients and myself is dairy. Um,
Get out of
Reducing
here. That's the same way with mine. Why do you do that? I'm gonna let you tell that part. Why did you eliminate dairy?
because it's acidic. And when it enters your gut, your stomach, and your small intestines, because of the acidity, your organic machine is hardwired to survive, to heal itself, whatever. And what it does is it has to buffer that acidity. So where does it get the buffering agent? From your bones. And the buffering agent is calcium. So you think that you're actually adding calcium to your body, but you're not. You're actually depleting. And that's why in the United States, we consume a ton of dairy, especially yogurt, because people are, talking about probiotics, and you can get probiotics from other sources. You're the one that would be able to say that. But So what happens is we have the highest rate of osteoporosis and
Mm.
the highest rate of bone fractures.
Right. It's so
So,
funny. It's so funny, Candice. I literally, we literally think alike because when I wrote my manual, I took it out, and somebody said, "Why you take dairy?" And I said, "Because the human body wasn't meant to digest dairy products to begin with." I said, "But but let me show you how the media works. There's two things that I omitted out of my regimen. One was pork, and one was dairy. And I said the two reasons is this: the human body wasn't capable of really processing either or. So then." If people remember, milk shortages went down, and it's a business. America's a business. So then what happened?
yes,
What happened next? The way you get people to fall back into their regiment, you find a celebrity. Michael Jordan had a mustache of milk. Race car drivers in Indy had milk, and you know what they did? Got milk,
you're
and
right.
you forgot how healthy you was when you got rid of it. Then let's go even deeper. You have to have money to be healthy. You have to have money to eat healthy. If you're gonna buy a pork product and it's cheap, everybody buys it. But the complications that come with that particular meat is high in sodium, digestive problems, the whole 9 yards. So we took it off. People start
Mhm.
becoming health conscious and start eating chicken, turkey, and lean beef. The pork industry suffers. So you know what they do? The other white meat.
Right.
And put it right back on the market, and people really forgot. So it seems funny. It seems like every time we become as health conscious individuals, the government and the media has a way to lure us back in. Why do you think we have such a hard time focusing on staying healthy?
Um, why do I think?
Yeah.
I would say you're absolutely right. The marketing has a lot to do with it. And physicians don't care enough about even learning for themselves how to take care of themselves. How many nurses and doctors do you know that are out of shape, overweight?
Yeah.
Seriously, they
Yeah.
don't know, they can't take care of themselves. How in the hell are they going to take care of you and your loved ones? And there isn't one physician that I know that has taken the time to say to a client, well, patient, um, you know what? I want you to be healthy, and this is what I want you to do. And I want you to follow. What they do is that they'll say two things: exercise and diet, but they don't know where do you begin. Then they send you to the hospital nutritionist or dietitian, and that individual is in bad shape themselves, and they're giving you the same thing that is marketed by the big corporations. And if you look, I'll just say this one last thing. I haven't seen it in the last year or 2 years, but the big schools, their programs, where you're getting your degree in nutrition or whatever, who sits on the advisory board?
Mm,
Individuals from companies like Quaker, Nestle.
mm,
So, what do you think you're going to be learning?
yeah. And usually when you walk in there, you see the same food pyramid that's been out
Yeah,
in forever. Uh,
yes.
before we wrap up, what's your message to the world right now about their health and taking accountability? What's your message for them?
Well, you know what? I believe in the practice of self help, that you're your primary caregiver, your physician is your secondary caregiver. I believe my research, and I said this to you before, is that the pancreas is the gatekeeper of good health, poor health, weight gain, and weight loss. And my parting message is what I tell all of my clients. I don't care if you put a sign on the mirror in your bathroom, a sign on your refrigerator. This is what it should say: your mouth is not supposed to have a party at every meal.
Damn, I never
So
heard that one. That's deep.
I made that up.
How can the viewers reach out to you and become part of your program? And I highly recommend you guys
Oh,
do that. Like I said, this platform is designed to keep that beast mentality, but also to educate and empower. And I've been spreading this same message to the world for years. And I hope now that you guys can gravitate to it. You got to take accountability for your health, and the pancreas is where it really begins, as well as the mind. Because I always tell people,
yes, you're right.
it starts here first.
Yeah,
So get your mind right and
right.
understand the importance of the pancreas. But how can the viewers reach out to you and get to be part of your program?
Okay. They can reach out to me on my website, which, and I apologize. I put the dog in the cage to be quiet, and now he's starting to bark, and I apologize for that noise. But anyway, so www.candicerosen, so CandiceRosenRN.com. They can also follow me on Instagram. My Instagram, whatever, is the at sign and then the glucose, GLUCOSE nurse. And that's it. And then my book, The Pancreatic Oath and Forget Dieting, are available on at Amazon and also Barnes and Noble. So that's it. And I want to again thank you so much for having me on the show. It was a treat. I've learned so much from you with our previous conversation and today. And thank Darnell again. And I'm sorry that I missed Yolanda. So, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And remember, you don't have to overdo it on Thanksgiving Day.
Thank you
Okay.
so much, Candice, for coming on the show. Make sure you guys
Thank
reach
you.
out, support her, get your book, get a consultation, get yourself correct, take care of your health going into the new year. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.